Hello and welcome to Aviadev Insight Africa, the premier podcast dedicated to air connectivity and route developments to, from and within the African continent with your host, John Howell, CEO and founder of Aviadev Africa. Our podcast is your window to the world of African aviation, where we connect with industry experts, thought leaders and visionaries who are at the forefront of revolutionizing air travel on the continent. Today is no exception, and we're heading to Germany to meet the CCO, the Chief Commercial Officer of an airline delivering a huge number of international tourists to the African continent and very much needed connectivity. The airline in question is Discover Airlines, which until a few days ago was known as Eurowings Discover, after undergoing a brand identity shift, and we're going to explore that today. But in this episode, we aim to hear more about the airline, its plans for Africa. And to do that, I am delighted to say that I'm joined by Helmut Woelfel, who is the airline's Chief Commercial Officer. So Helmut, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Let's go back to the start, because I'm sure I have listeners here who are saying, Discover, Eurowings Discover. I'm not overly familiar. And it is a relatively new airline brand in the grand scheme of things. And already you serve a lot of African destinations. So it's really important that they're aware of you. Can you give us a bit of an idea of the origin story of the airline? It's always nice to start there.
For sure, yeah. Our story, as you rightfully said, is a short one, but still interesting one. And we started 2019, and it was initiated by Lufthansa as Lufthansa Group. And the aim was that we wanted to have a bigger footprint into leisure markets. And so we needed an special airline for that. And this airline was then created, and the problem was that then COVID hit, as we all know, the airline industry, and it hit hard. But nevertheless, we somehow muddled through these difficult times. And soon after the pandemic, we started with our first flight, and it actually happened to Africa. It was on July 24th. And it was to Mombasa and Zanzibar, and our third flight then already to Windhoek in August. So from the very beginning, although we are an airline that serves not only Africa, but the Western and Southern Hemisphere and also the Mediterranean, we have very deep roots into Africa. And yeah, now we think we start after 2 years, we are growing bigger. And I think we can discuss this later on in this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so heartening to me once the airline was launched, just how much of a focus Africa was. So as of today, you operate African flights to which destinations? Can you just run through those leisure markets that you are serving?
Yeah, for sure. If we talk about Sub-Saharan Africa, we are talking for sure about Mombasa, Zanzibar, Windhoek, Victoria Falls, and Kilimanjaro. And of course, from a German perspective, Africa also belongs to the northern part of Africa, the Maghreb. And there we are talking about routes like Marrakesh, Morocco, and to Djerba, Monastir, all these Maghreb states on the Mediterranean seashore.
Perfect. I'm focusing on the sub-Saharan side because that's more the sort of focus of our podcast. Talk about the fleet as well. So if I'm on my way down to Zanzibar or down to Victoria Falls, what's the aircraft that's going to take me there?
Yeah, it's A330 300 or A330 200. So I think for the layman, it's almost the same aircraft. For us in the airline industry, and I think for your audience also, it's a little bit of a difference. But yeah, it's A330 fleet.
Perfect. Yeah, and I've had the privilege of flying with you guys down to Windhoek, and it was a great time as well because it was an overnight flight, which is just perfect in terms of not losing a day from your leisure experience. And the in-flight product as well is really interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the market that you're serving, because you alluded to it before. It's part of the Lufthansa group, and Lufthansa has strategically said, let's have a leisure airline. So before we get on to the branding and Eurowings Discover, now Discover, let's talk about that market and that demographic that you're serving. Is it mainly foreign tourists that want to come and explore Africa, or is that kind of makeup of the travelers changing? Do you have business traffic? Do you have outbound African traffic? Tell us a bit more about how that's developed and who it was for.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as you rightfully said, the primary goal for us is a leisure airline, still serving German or German-speaking tourists into Africa. but we clearly see a change or shift of people sitting on our aircraft. First, what we see right now is also that we have traffic from Europe and transatlantic traffic connecting via our seamless possibilities in Frankfurt to Africa. And with the growing power of Africa as an economy, a continent with ever-growing economy, we still see or already see also more and more people from Namibia or from Africa, southern parts of Africa, more business people than flying to Germany. Yeah, that's the. But still, if you want numbers, or if I can somehow put numbers on it, I would say it's 60% is from Germany or German-speaking countries, 10% then from other countries, and the rest then starting their flight in Africa and being African people.
Yeah, it's fascinating how it's developed. And what do you think going forward? Do you expect that mix to even itself out even more? Because, of course, the marketing, the branding is that leisure airline focus. But we've seen this with other airlines in the past that they're agnostic. People need to get from A to B. It doesn't really, the products, we did the airline down to Windhoek. And yeah, there was a real mix on there with leisure and business travelers. And the product's set up very well for both. So do you see that? I suppose you don't really mind as long as the planes are full, right?
Exactly. No, of course. But on the other hand, we all know that to a certain degree, it's making money is a little bit more easy with business traveler than leisure traveler. That's unfortunately still stands true. So we are happy that we see more and more people flying business and business class. And as you rightfully said, our business and business class is completely competitive with other airlines. So we are not a somehow low cost part. We can serve business traveler with all what they need: lounge access, full flat business class, of course, connectivity in Frankfurt and Munich, as if they would fly Lufthansa or Lufthansa Group. We also have joint venture partners like United Airlines and Air Canada. So we try to have this leisure touch, and it's of course it's deeply rooted in our company DNA, but want to serve. And I think I hopefully don't sound too over proud, I think we also can serve business people. And concerning your question, does they come more and more, I think that depends on the development in the countries. We see a dramatic increase of commercial power in Namibia. I think with all these green power discussions, oil and energy discussions, I think we want and we will be and can be one of the leading airlines that serves the country also in this field.
Yeah, I think that's a really important, and we will focus in on the Namibia route for very obvious reasons towards the end of the podcast. But the other thing that was really interesting, some people that are coming down, what I saw, they're coming down to Namibia or Zimbabwe or Tanzania. And for a lot of these people, it is a one in a lifetime experience. And therefore, they are willing, even as a leisure passenger, to say, do you know what? I'm going to do it properly.
For sure.
And I'm going to fly business class. So I did see that too. So that was who that business class initially, I suppose, was created for. But there are definite trade traffic that's existing. So that was just an observation from my side. Fantastic. It was only last week that I got the email. I'd had a few teasers. The brand underwent a bit of a transformation, dropping Eurowings and just becoming Discover Airlines. So new branding, which you can see in the artwork for the podcast. But tell us, what was the thinking behind this? Why do it so soon after launching the airline? It's only 4 years old and we've already had a rebrand. So what's the story?
We had some marketing and brand money left, and so we want to spend it. No, of course not. Yeah, thanks for the questions. I think it needs a little bit of explanation. When we started, as I pointed out, it was during the pandemic, and all airlines were hit very hard, and so it was even for big company like Lufthansa, it was a very tough time and a far stretch to found another airline during these times of crisis. And you sure have no money for building up a new brand. So Lufthansa referred to our existing brand in Europe, Eurowings, and we said, okay, let's use this already well-known in Germany, well-known brand. I point out that we are Eurowings Discover, although we are not in any way related to this airline, neither by P&L nor by product. So it was some kind of a makeshift solution, but a good one. And now 2-3 years in service, 4 million passengers transported. We feel and we see and we got the feedback that the people somehow got a little bit of, let's say, they don't know for sure, am I now on Eurowings, Discover, is it the same? Whom should I address if something went wrong? What is the brand claim? Is it low cost or is it quality leisure? And this we had to rectify, and rather sooner than later. And as we all know, right now, times in the airline industry are quite good, and our company is making money. So we said, okay, instead of waiting another 2 or 3 years, we now make a clear cut and we say, okay, we thank you, Eurowings, for giving us wings, let's put it that way. But now we have to make a clear cut, and it's better for both companies. So Eurowings can serve their attitudes, their business, and we want to clearly say, okay, we are a standalone part. We are the quality leisure airline. This is the purpose. That is our claim, quality and leisure. And we need to have a brand for that also fits a little bit more into this claim. And last sentence on that one, if you see the delivery of our aircraft, and if you rather sooner than later see the interior of aircraft, we want also hint much more that we are member of Lufthansa Group, and that we are full-fledged member of Lufthansa Group and not a faraway sister. And these are the two main reasons for having this rebranding right now.
Yeah, it was time to fly the nest, but also to make sure that everybody knew who the parents were. That's the thing. It's the Lufthansa gives lots of credibility, but I can understand the confusion, and then your call center at Eurowings getting calls about Discover separate, and it's hard then for people to have that conversation. Yeah, I was pretty confident when I got a heads up that there was going to be a rebrand. It would be Discover. I thought maybe it could have been called Vanderlust or something like that, but then I thought maybe that's a bit too limiting in the global market that we work in. I wonder whether that was on the cutting room floor as an option. Who knows?
For a very short time.
There you go, and that's why I don't work in Lufthansa marketing. There you go. So, Helmut, your background, you spend a lot of time doing network planning, and now obviously sitting as CCO with the network planning side. Let's actually have a look at the African market. You've talked about the markets you serve, but the couple of questions that I have around this is, do you think that's going to continue to grow? If those routes and those destinations served you well? And the most important thing for my audience, especially the airports and destinations listening, is if they want to engage with Discover and they want you to start serving, what is it you're looking for from them?
I think it's a little bit of a 2 or 3-fold approach. So first of all, we started with many new routes for us, and the next step, and we started this year, and I think we'll continue for next year, that we make our footprint will be enlarged in existing routes, serving them more often, serving them better timing, whatever. So this is always a start. Start opening up routes, learn, adjust, and then go for the next step. So the next year, I would say it's more the adjustment year and the focusing year, and we grow into routes that we already serve. I don't think that we will see another new route, and you never know in the airline business, but right now I don't plan to open up a new route, but we will, as I said, focus on the existing, and we want to focus on new partnerships with airlines like Airlink or Fly Namibia, because this is your old pros. That's the way it goes. You can better serve the long-haul carriers serving into the country, and then you discuss with other airlines that they are joining you, and together you can serve even better instead of flying each and every point in the countries you already have. So this would be the step next year. And then, of course, we see and we go with the flow and see where are the powerhouses, where do our tourist operator from Germany tell us where do they want to go. And from the African side, I think two things is important. First of all, there's often a European bias. We know some countries and we don't know other countries, and there's sometimes often prejudice about some countries. So it's important to discuss with us, give us information if there's something in our perception is wrong. And the next thing, it's always important for airlines and in emerging countries, emerging societies, stability of the country, and of course in the airport and the production of the airport. Our touristic people, they want to know, if I fly there, is it safe? Is it reliable? And the things like that.
Yeah, I think
that's the important part.
Yeah, it's a really good overview of what you're looking for. And I know the team obviously had multiple conversations when they came to AviaDev. That's what we try to do. And it's also important to point out that route developments take years sometimes and
Exactly.
lots of work. But it is about providing that little bit of something extra that an airline can't do from its headquarters based on just the data that it has. It also needs some information and a real willingness. So while we're talking about Namibia, because of course, a very stable country with the same ruling party since independence in 1992, huge links to Germany as well, historically too. And of course, the host of AviaDev Africa 2024, which for all of you who haven't yet been on the new website, it's www.aviadev.com. We have a new URL this year. The new theme is up and live. So please go over there, find out what we're all about. We have Discover Airlines as one of our official carriers. So for those of you coming from European destinations or from the US or from elsewhere, it will be a great option for you to get down to Windhoek and get into Namibia. And then as Helmut pointed out, there are potentially local partners, but also local airlines that will take you that last mile around Namibia, but also sub-Saharan Africa as well. So talk to us about the Namibian market. How did it all begin? And I believe it's been a real success, the development and the increased capacity.
Yeah, it really, Namibia as far as we really hit the gold. How you say it in English? It was a bounty from the very beginning. We started with three flights, and now we are already on 10. I think that tells the whole story. And yeah, I think you pointed out the main things. First of all, some historic bonds, then stability in the country, a wonderful, nice country, very interesting for German tourists. So yeah, everything set into place. And yeah, and another thing is that we also fly not only to Windhoek, but we used to fly additional to Victoria Falls from Windhoek on, because we see that German tourists, although I think you can spend months in Namibia and haven't seen all interesting things. Some people, they do it like Africa in a week, and then they want to also fly to Vic Falls. And this is the way we do it. And I think, as I pointed out, like some 2 or 3 minutes ago, the future cooperation with local airlines, this is our next step, and this is a very important step. And of course, stability and the airport going alongside with us to jointly make operations even better than today.
Yeah, absolutely. To pick up on that trend, it's something through this podcast we've followed massively over probably since the beginning of COVID. And even before that, the trend was beginning that those airlines that were regional players and that was their only ambition, they were saying, how do we grow without having to add more metal to our fleet? And the way was to obviously synchronize and integrate with those airlines that can provide the long haul connectivity, and then they provide the last mile deliveries. Yeah, from my side, I think that is the way forward for African development, and it's about partnership and collaboration. And having those conversations through AviaDev. It's not just airports and airlines, but airlines with airlines, airports with airports, everybody talking to each other for the benefit of connectivity to Africa. So thank you so much for joining us today, Helmut. It's been a real pleasure.
Pleasure was on my side. Thank you.
Fantastic. Head over to the Discover website. There'll be a link in the show notes. You can follow or connect with Helmut on LinkedIn as well. I'll put his link into the show notes as well. And we look forward to working with you and the team over the coming weeks, months, and years as you continue to spread your wings and bring that much needed tourism dollars into the sub-Saharan African market. So thank you everybody out there for joining us. If you did enjoy this episode, do hit the share button now. Share it with somebody in your network that you think would benefit. Don't hesitate to subscribe. Leave us a review so we can be found by more people. And we will see you for the next episode very soon. Thank you all for joining us. Take care. Bye-bye.